Siddhant, can you hear me or not?
Yeah, hi Kash, I can hear you.
Awesome, cool. Let me know when we need to start, or are we waiting?
Yeah, we're waiting. We can start. I'll start first and I'll hand over it to you.
Thank you. All
Just
right,
give me a minute, please. Sure.
take it up. Just checking, right? I think some people are saying they're not able to hear, but I hope you all can hear us now, right? Just a thumbs up would mean you all can in the chat.
So, just quick yes or no, everyone, if you're able to hear us.
Cool, they can. Siddhant, you can start.
Perfect. All right. So, hi, very good evening, everyone. So, I hope you all are doing well. And first of all, thank you so much for joining us today on Friday evening. So, I really appreciate that. So, my name is Siddhant Benkar. I'm currently working as an assistant manager with the student experience team at Upgrad. So here, I would like to warm welcome Generative AI C11 July 2024 cohort. So I hope you are super excited to set sail an incredible learning journey with us because we are going to prepare you for next few months here. So this is the welcome webinar in which we are going to give you the download on content, that how the content is going to look like, right? So we'll have Henry joining us, who is currently working as a senior associate with our content and strategy team, and Henry will brief you about all the insights about the curriculum, right? We have Mr. Akash Makkar here, right, who is a seasoned data scientist and machine learning and AI expert, and currently working as a lead AI scientist at Carning. So Akashdeep will give you all peek into industries with some interesting real-time examples. I will be discussing about learning experience and the learning element and what are the programs offerings we have here. And finally, we will conclude with the Q&A section. So just a request to everyone, in case if you have any questions, right, do post them in the Q&A section so that we can try and pick them one by one. So on this note, I'll hand over stage to Akash to take it ahead from here. Thank you so much, Akash.
All right, thank you, Siddhant. Hey, everyone. Just a quick introduction, right, about myself. I'm Akash. I have a decade of experience, and all of that is into machine learning, data science, analytics, and now generative AI, right? Everyone, I'm sure, is excited about learning generative AI, right? So, in my current role, I lead a team of 10 to 11 data scientists, and we do develop products which are heavily focused on machine learning, and a few are on solely generative AI, right? I'll be presenting my screen. I'll take you through some slides, right? But I'm not a very slide kind of guy. I like to talk more than explain things sort of via the slide route, correct? So if you have any questions at any point of time, right, just hold the question, because how I plan to deliver my lectures are after every 10 minutes, I'll take a pause, I'll take your questions, right? Make sure the questions that come to me are slightly technical in nature, because as Siddhant said, Siddhant and one more person, Henri, who will be from the content that, and they'll be joining soon, they will answer all the questions about content and how things progress at upgrades and at a course, right? But to me, you can ask any technical question. If I know the answer, I'll let you know. Sounds good, right, everyone? Awesome. Then with that, just a thumbs up would mean that you guys can see my screen. Let me know if my screen is visible. Guys in the chat. Awesome. It's visible, right?
Yes, yes, Akash, it's visible.
Thank you. So on my screen, right, I'm going to play a video. I am not sure if you'll be able to hear the voice, right? But uh, it's a deep fake, right? And I'm sure we all have heard of deep fakes.
What
now.
you see is not real.
Just see the facial expressions and the lip sync.
At least in contemporary terms, it is not. What if I were to tell you that I'm not even a human being?
Right. Now let's pause here. Do you see something, the lip sync and the expressions matching in these two people? Yes or no? Do you see that or not? I just play it a little
Would you
more.
believe me? What is your perception of reality?
So the question this video is asking is, what is your perception of reality? Now, if I have to ask you, which video is real? Is it the lower one or the above one? By popularity, you might know, but the lower one is actually the real video, and the facial expressions were cloned on Morgan Freeman. So this gentleman is Morgan Freeman, right? He's a very popular actor, right? If you have seen Shawshank Redemption, right? So this is how I wanted to introduce generative AI, right? So generative AI is not just chat GPT writing codes. There are things you can do beyond generative AI. And generative AI is so popular because it can match human creativity. Sounds good, everyone? Yes or no? So generative AI is nothing but a branch of artificial intelligence that can actually generate new content through different types of data. What we see on GPT, right, or chat GPT is just the tip of the, the bigger iceberg, right? We can talk to chat GPT, we can get our answers from chat GPT, we can write codes from chat GPT, and now we can create images from chat GPT also, right? So it can actually digest, it's an AI system which can digest any kind of data, be it a Python code, an R code, SQL, Java, .NET, C, C Sharp, English, Hindi, Arabic text, Portuguese, Spanish, right? It can edit images for you. It can create videos for you as well. ChatGPT cannot, but there are other models which can, right? So generative AI models are capable of learning complex patterns from the existing data that is given to you. And the recent big breakthroughs, right? They're not so recent anymore, but with introduction of generative pre-trained transformer, which is a full form of GPT, DALL-E, which is a text-to-image conversion model, and then Midjourney, they have substantially enhanced the capability of generative AI, right, everyone? And I'm sure you all have used GPT till now, right? I'm sure GPT is being used by everyone. Yes or no? Can you guys live without GPT anymore? I can't. What about you? Let's see in the chat. Do you guys use ChatGPT every day or not? For example, every Jira ticket, right? Exactly. So every line of code that I write now, right? And I am a coder, right? I know how to write codes, but of course, GPT is better than I write. I'm better at solving problems, but GPT is better at it than writing codes, right? Every problem that I face at corporate level, right? In terms of coding, right? I go to GPT to brainstorm, right? So GPT has essentially enhanced my productivity by 20 to 30%. And this is coming from a personal experience. I'm not trying to sell you anything, right? This comes from my personal experience. GPT has been that impactful. And GPT is not new, right? There was a paper that came out in early 2016 by a Google engineer, which is attention is all you need, which is a transformer based approach, right? So once you get used to generative AI, I highly recommend you guys to read that paper. Attention is all you need, based on which ChatGPT and all the large language models are created, right? So it's not new. It's just ChatGPT made it very, very popular, and now it's the market leader there. Everyone is using it. Also, a lot of people think, right, then since generative AI has come in, the traditional machine learning is gone for the toss, which is not true, right? Traditional ML still stays, but now a lot of industries focusing on generative AI because it's a low hanging fruit. A lot of people want to be the first ones to use it really well, right? The difference between generative AI and traditional ML is in traditional machine learning, right? Our primary focus was on to detect patterns and make decisions. Let's take a very simple example. If I have to ask you, given we are all from India, right? Most of us, if not all, when does the cracker sale go up in India? Firecrackers. In which month the firecracker sales go up in India? During which season? October. Okay. Anyone else? Diwali, which is in October. Diwali and New Year, October and January, right? Now, if I have to predict this using a time series model or a traditional machine learning model, I will get a similar answer, right? What it will do is it will try to read the patterns from my previous data. And then it will say, all right, in 2025, you can expect that the firecracker sale will go up, right? Because that has been the pattern. Yes or no? Correct? This was the primary task of traditional machine learning models: finding patterns, defining relationship between different variables, classifying data, and performing specific tasks. For example, prediction of crackers, prediction of revenue, will it rain tomorrow or not, will Arihant buy an iPhone or not, these kind of problems, right? But for all these kind of problems, we needed a lot of data. There were a lot of advancements, but still, we always needed some data to train these models to get our predictions correct. But generative AI changed it, right? So generative AI actually matches human creativity when you are creating new content. And I'm sure you all have used ChatGPT to write jokes, to create songs, to create stories which don't exist and whatnot, right? So generative AI takes away that barrier that you don't need data, you can directly start working on it. With that, generative AI has an unprecedented speed of adoption, right? I think ChatGPT took less than 1 week to reach 1 million users, which is faster than Instagram. And people love Instagram. I'm sure you all spend hours and hours to watch reels that we all should not, right? Given the day GPT was launched, a lot of startups, a lot of companies, as you can see on the left side of my screen, right? They started rising in numbers. And the focus of all these companies is to harness the power of generative AI and sell as many products or sell their services as much as they can, right? So there was a very famous tweet also. I don't recall the name. I think it was by Ilya, who was one of the co-founders of OpenAI, which was English is the new hottest coding language, right? You can actually just write English and tell ChatGPT, can you do this? And it does it. Right, everyone? You all have felt that or not? Yes or no? I mean, I do it every day again. So that's why, I say my efficiency has been increased by using ChatGPT. There are a lot of applications out there of generative AI. This slide might be a little outdated, but this might give you an idea, right? For example, we have basic consumer AI chatbots, which is ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Bard is gone now, right? Then we have text to image generation. We have Stable Diffusion, Midjourney, DALL-E 3 has come in now. We have code generations also. ChatGPT is really good at generating write codes. GitHub Copilot is one of it. Then OpenAI Code Interpreter, right? And then we have certain companies who focus on enterprise AI, right? So if you're planning to implement AI across your enterprise, 50,000 users, lakhs of systems, lakhs of file storage, you have Cohere, MetaLlama, Palm 3 now out there, right? Which help you in doing that, right? There are a lot of applications out there of generative AI. For example, Khan Academy, a very popular knowledge sharing platform where you can learn stats. They have created a chatbot where you can talk to the chatbot and you can get your answers. I'm sure you all have used Swiggy and Zomato, right? HDFC Bank customer care. They all have generative AI integrated in it, right? Because generative AI is really, really good at answering questions naturally. Adobe Firefly also uses generative AI now. So if you want to edit the image, but you don't know how to use Adobe, sure, write it in English, your problem gets solved. This was one of the biggest application out there when GPT was launched, and I think it's still one of the biggest application out there. Bloomberg is a company which sells proprietary financial data. They created their own GPT. I hope you all understand what proprietary data means. Proprietary data means the data which is not available to the public. The data that they own, they sell it for money or they don't sell it at all. It has all the secrets, for a lack of a better word, right? So they actually created a Bloomberg GPT, which is just for finance. So now as we move forward, right, probably in a year or in 6 months from now, you will see a lot of applications which are health specific, finance specific, retail specific, procurement specific, supply chain specific. So this is where the industry is moving. The industry is using these bigger models, bigger open source models. They're using their proprietary data. So they can train the data. They can train the model on their own data, and the data does not leave the intranet of the company. The data does not go to the public domain. So that's where a lot of companies are focusing nowadays, right? Again, talking about tool stack, right? Primarily, there are two kind of models that you will see out there. One is an open LLM, open large language model. The other one is closed large language model, right? Closed large language models are models that you cannot download and fine tune, or you cannot download and make changes to their weights, right? For example, GPT, you don't know how it works. It's a black box for us. You say something, it gives the answer. Most of the time, it's right. Open LLMs are different. So Llama is one of the open LLM, right? Open Llama is another one. These models you can actually download, right? And run it locally on your system. It costs a lot of money. You need to have a GPU to run these models, right? Then you have image models, which are like DALL-E, Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, right? I'll pause here for 2-3 minutes. Quickly tell me your burning questions, then we'll continue. I don't want this to be a very boring session. I want to take questions. Please go ahead, ask the questions. You can ask question Q&A. Other than LLMs, what model do we learn? I think your course is primarily focused on generative AI, right, Madhva? So you will be focused on not creating LLMs, but your focus in this course will be highly on how you can use large language models to create applications which will be applicable in your enterprise systems, right? I think most of your focus will be on how you can use, let's say, the OpenAI ChatGPT API. How can you implement a large language model based on the data that you're working on? That's where most of the focus will go on in this course. I'm creating a large language model requires millions of dollars, right? Yes, Arihant, I think you will do things using RAG for sure. Again, Henri and Siddhant will cover that, but for sure you will do RAG for sure. I know that. I mean, the RAG is the basic application, right? Which can be which can be made for very complex kind of queries also. So for sure you will be doing RAG 100%. Will be compare and contrast different LLM models. For some of it, I think yes. But if you say I want to compare Open Llama latest model versus ChatGPT 2, I'm not sure. Do we focus on responsible? I think no, Praveen. The focus will be how you develop, but being responsible / sustainable, right? That is something which becomes very enterprise focused. In academy, it's very difficult to achieve that. For example, when I build applications for my country, I have to take care of GDPR and EU AI Act sometimes, right? But when I'm doing it at academic level, I don't think so. That's a very enterprise kind of thing. Okay. Questions? Will we learn converting languages? Madhvi, sorry, your question is kind of unclear to me. What do you mean when you say will we learn converting languages? I did not get it. Sorry. Sorry. Can you repeat your question if you don't mind? Yeah, it's very easy. Yeah. You will not, I mean, no one will teach you exactly this, but you will learn prompt engineering. Don't worry. For sure, you will learn that. And it's very easy. It's so easy, you'll be surprised how easy it is. And how can it be that easy? Not even kidding. It's very easy. You'll do much more fun stuff than this. You'll do much more fun stuff than this. I can tell you that. I can assure you that. Okay, let's pause the questions. I'll just cover the rest of 10, 15, 8 to 10 pages which are left. Then we'll come to questions. Will be focus on prompt engineering or application development. So Praveen, you can't do application development if you can't do prompt engineering. So you will learn prompt engineering also. One shot, chain of thought, LangChain, all those things you should know to create application. I mean, it's like saying, can I construct sentences before knowing what are consonant and vowels? No, you cannot, right? So you will learn prompt engineering and then you will go towards application development. Okay. Okay, let's pause. Let me cover the slides because they're important. Then we'll take more questions, right? Meanwhile, you can think of questions. I can answer it. Don't worry about it. Cool. As I suggested, right, that this is not new. Everyone thinks GPT was the first model. It's not, right? GPT basically underneath uses GANs and transformers. And the paper link that I was talking about, right? Attention is all you need is here. It was released in, I think, 2018, and based on it, sorry, this is the paper. It was released in 2017. Attention is all you need. And based on it, GPT was created. And then GPT-3 got really, really popular with the masses, right? And now we see all kind of generation, text to text, text to image, text to video, image to image, image to text, and whatnot, right? The advantage of using transformers is that it can parallelize a lot of tasks. So you can do a lot of things, you can do a lot of things very, very quickly. It is very scalable. As you can see, millions of users use GPT, right? And it has contextual understanding, which means it can understand the linguistics or the language that we are using, right? The power of large language models comes from this page that you see, right? When we start, right at the start, right? Let it just refresh. We always knew that we can do question answering and arithmetic operations with the kind of machine learning that we do, right? But generative AI enhanced all of this. It can do summarization, it can do code completion, it can do common sense reasoning, it can do translation, it can understand the language. It does not stop there. It can do all of this as well. Some of the words you guys might not be familiar with. For example, logical inference chains, right? Semantic parsing proverbs and whatnot. You might not be aware about these, but these models are fairly complex. They can actually find a lot of hidden patterns within the language also, hence your RAG-based application. If someone does not know RAG is nothing but retrieval augmented generation. You can pass a lot of data to your ChatGPT model. You can ask questions on top of it, and it will almost always give you the right answer, right? The current landscape primarily is that a lot of companies who use automation are trying to use GPT to fasten their automation, right? A lot of companies are willing that humans get replaced by machines. And I'm sure a lot of people were scared right at the start when GPT came in. It's going to replace me. It's going to do this. It's going to do that. I was pretty, I was pretty nervous as well. But now, since I've been working on generative AI, right, these systems are nice, but they always need a human to code them the right way. And that's why, we still all have our jobs, right? But when GPT came in back in 2020, 2021 during COVID era, everyone was scared. First, I'm at home. Second, what if I lose my job, right? Everyone is stressed. But hopefully that did not happen. Will it happen in the future? May. But right now, to do such things, to build a ChatGPT based application and whatnot, you need a human to work on, right? Here I'm talking just about a few very basic level use cases, right? That using generative AI, you can generate text. You can generate text within your knowledge base. You can generate images for marketing. If you're working in R&D, or if you're working in software development, if you're working in commissioning, right? You can edit the language, you can correct your codes, right? You can do some level of machine learning also based on textual data. You can cluster multiple pieces of text as per categories. For example, I generate 100 comments and I ask ChatGPT, classify them in negative or positive, right? So now I don't have to use NLP, which is a task in itself, right? It takes days to write codes like these or hours to write codes like this. Now all you have to do is just tell ChatGPT, all right, this is my code. This is my 100 comments. Tell me how many are positive or negative. And it does everything on its own, right? And then there has been a lot of automation primarily in customer cares, right? So analyzing customer calls, understanding the emotion of the customer, getting summaries. And I'm not sure if in your organization Copilot is already applicable. In my organization, it is. When I'm on a Teams meeting, I just enable Copilot. It takes such a brilliant summary. I don't have to write minutes of meeting anymore. It's that brilliant, right? So these are the few applications. With great responsibility comes great threat, right? And that's why a lot of companies are still very reluctant to use generative AI because it hallucinates a lot. I'm sure you must have seen it tells us that unicorn exists and they don't. That's one, right? There are very high computational requirement when you run these models. You will see it when you use ChatGPT OpenAI API. The API price keeps shooting up very, very easily if you use it a lot. There are ethical concerns when you pass your data to OpenAI. What do they do with your data? They claim they don't use it. I sort of disagree to it. I'm sure they use it, right? And ethical concerns, deep fakes, data privacy. The first video that I showed you, right? That Morgan Freeman is not even here, right? And this video is such a good video that it's very difficult to figure out which one is real and which one is not. So there are a lot of ethical concerns around generative AI. Hence, a few companies are still reluctant to use it. But I think it's a matter of time. These all things will get addressed sooner or later, and a lot of companies will be on board of using generative AI. With that, I'll pause. I don't want to be very theoretical, but I would like to now take questions from you all. So if you have any burning questions, now is your time. Put it in the chat. I'm happy to answer all questions. And ask difficult questions. You guys are asking very easy questions. There is a reason Siddhant asked me to come in. Ask me. And please don't be shy, right? Don't think your question is not important. It might not be relevant. If there's a question, it should be answered. This is the place where you should ask a question. Good question, Avinash. The only way to keep up with it is learn it. For example, I am a self-taught person. When it came in, I just started taking some trainings, right? And it is continuing, and you can't sort of rely on your static knowledge of today, which will be implemented after 5 years. No, it is evolving. It is evolving very fast. Difficult to keep up with it, but then at corporate, right, that is the difference between a government and corporate job. You'll have to learn continuously. Will we learn real business applications? Yes, you will. Will you implement them right now at a very large scale? No, but you'll learn enough that you can do that in your organizations. Using LLM, will be doing any predictions? Maybe. LLMs are nothing but predicting the next word. I mean, if I have to tell you what are large language models, they only predict the next word, and they keep on doing it and they become really good, right? But I think your focus primarily will be on text-based corpus. Aryan, that's a really good question. I was looking for a question like this. What are the prerequisites to join this course? And this is a very nice question. The prerequisite, I think upgrade will anyway cover, but if I have to tell you how you can take this course very, very efficiently is you need to know Python for sure. And you're joining a career where you will require to code. So Python and SQL is something that you should know. Now, because you're doing generative AI, having a bit of machine learning knowledge would be highly helpful. Having a lot will be even better, but right at the start, knowing Python and SQL would be very, very helpful, and then learning machine learning also. A general question, what does future look like? That's a good question, Rohit. That's a question I asked myself also. But again, I think at least if I talk as an individual, right? I will never build a large language model, but I will use a large language model to build applications, right? So even if a more powerful system comes in, I'll just use it to build more powerful applications. Sorry. Siddhant, I see questions drying up. You wanna take over?
Yeah, hi, Akash. So, any particular question for me?
Not for you, but I'm
Which are
looking
from
for.
the content standpoint, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, so Henry is joining. He'll be taking those questions.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, he's joining in a while.
So guys, I'm here. If you have any more questions, I'm your guy to answer. How can we improve ability to provide solution for different use cases? So Avinash, that's what a data scientist So that's again, I'll answer it in slightly more detail, right? That when you're all hired at a company as a person who works in data science, right? You're not hired to do codes. Your primary responsibility is to solve a business problem. Now, to solve that business problem, you have to write code. So critical thinking is one thing that you will learn how to break down a larger problem statement into smaller problem statements, something that comes naturally when you write a lot of codes. You don't learn designing vector databases, you will learn how to implement vector databases. So I think you will learn ChromaDB, Praveen. But again, when Henri comes in, you can repeat this question. One question other than can you explore you might get guidance. You will have mentorship calls, Kiran, and I think you can request Upgrad also to connect you with some industry mentors and trainings, right? But again, I'll leave that up to Siddhant to answer. Madhav, that's again a good question. I'm not sure if you learn deployment because it's quite expensive, but you will learn about Flask at least. I mean, doing cloud implementation, on-prem implementation is usually a very expensive affair, right? Theoretically, you can find a lot of content out there. So I think Henri is here. Henri can take over. Hey, Henri, can you hear me loud and clear?
Yeah, Kashdeep. Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Hope I'm
So
audible as well. Yeah.
yeah, you're audible. So Henri, I think a lot of people have questions around content, which is your forte, right? So I
Got
would
it, got it.
you take the lead now. Yeah,
Sure thing. Yeah. Thank you very much, Kashdeep.
no problems. All right,
Hey, thanks, Akash.
no worries.
That was quite insightful session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we have Henry joining us from the content and strategy team. So Henry will give you a brief about the content and the curriculum, how it's going to look like for you all. So over to you, Henry.
Yeah, sure. Siddhant. Hi. I hope I'm audible. Hello,
Yes, Henry,
Siddhant.
you're audible.
Great, great. Okay, okay. Hi. Good evening, everyone. Glad to see all of you here today. So I work in the content team at Upgrad. So I'll be taking you through the curriculum portion of ACP Gen AI. So talking about the content, so the content has been developed with leading industry experts. So the one of the unique points about this particular course is that it's completely project based. So you will find a lot of projects, end-to-end projects around which the entire curriculum has been structured, and it features like end-to-end generative AI application development, starting from prompt engineering all the way to deployment or cloud as well. So if you have any questions, do post that in the Q&A section. Once I'm done with the portion, I'll be happy to take all of it out. So moving on, we'll take a look at some of the instructors who have helped us create the content for the generative AI program. Siddhant, next slide. Yeah. So we have partnered with leading experts who are working in the generative AI as well as data science landscape. So we have Beza Dharmadi, who is the machine learning engineer at Meta. We also have a few modules recorded by Kshitij Jain, who is the ex-AVP of Upgrad. And we also have a couple of modules by Giorgio and Ankush as well. Moving on to the curriculum portion of it, so I will give you very brief introduction to the curriculum portion. Siddhant, next slide. Yeah. So I believe that most of you would be going to the introductory course. So basically Python programming, fundamentals, and welcome to the module and so on. So this is aimed at giving you like a really good strong foundation for working with the rest of the modules. So I suggest that you go to all of these modules as well as the live sessions for these sessions, so that you can get a good understanding of how to work with Python and so on. I believe that some of you would be from non-technical background as well, or maybe familiar with other programming languages. So the ACP or the Advanced Certification Program in Generative AI. So we use primarily Python because that is the very popular and common tool used in the industry these days. So you will start right from the basics of how to work with Python. All the way till working with different data science libraries such as Pandas, NumPy, and so on. Right. So once you master all these fundamentals, we will then be moving on to the actual content on generative AI. which is where you start with prompt engineering, you start with opening APIs and so on, right? Siddhant, we can move to the next slide. Yeah. So this is, so as I mentioned before, so the curriculum has been structured around, six major projects. Some of these are recorded and some of these are live driven and so on. So the first project that I'll be describing is Shop Assist AI. So this is the first project, in the entire program. So here you would start off with the basics of prompt engineering, you learn different types of prompt engineering techniques like chain of thought, and so on. And then you also are introduced to LLM APIs. So LLM stands for large language models. Some of you are not familiar with the term. So primarily in this course we use OpenAI APIs. So we will teach you how to create an account, how to call different APIs and so on, right? And again, like we use primarily Python as the language of choice for this particular method of calling APIs. And then once you have gained the foothold on working with prompt engineering, how to design, basically design a system which contains large language models, you would then be building the first project, which is Shop Assist AI. So the fundamental premise of Shop Assist is really simple. So basically, you're building a recommendation system that, given a list of laptops and different features of laptops such as CPU, RAM size, and so on. So you're building a recommendation system that basically recommends laptops based on the user's profile. So maybe the recommendation would be different for a gamer or someone who is using the laptops for day to day and so on, right? So this is the first project, which is Shop Assist AI. So you basically will be using prompt engineering, system design principles, and so on to build a recommendation chatbot of sorts. The next project, which is Helpmate AI, is basically like an advanced version of of a querying tool. So there is a a very popular method called RAG, or Retrieval Augmented Generation. So if you look at large language models, and they have been trained on certain training data, and of course there'll be certain cutoff date beyond which the language models don't give you the answers for certain queries, right? So this is where principles or techniques like RAG come into the picture. So given a knowledge base or a knowledge bank, so you can retrieve the information from these knowledge base and then use the conversational method of LLMs to give you the answers pertaining to your queries. So this is very largely used in enterprises. So because you can't use enterprise data for training models, right? So in such situations, you are giving a PDF, like a repository of PDFs or documents and so on. You input that to your large language model, and then you use certain information retrieval or information extraction principles to extract the particular response for your query, and then you basically build a chatbot that sort of gives you response pertaining to certain very very certain queries that is pertaining to those knowledge base or PDFs and so on. uh, and then you have semantic spotter. So basically, semantic spotter is ideally RAG, but you will be introduced to different frameworks such as LangChain, Llama Index, and so on. And you'll also be dealing with fine tuning, right? And then the project culminates with building an RAG system out of frameworks like LangChain, Llama Index, and so on, right? And then in the last project, you have Helpmate scaling Helpmate AI. So it's basically you're building an RAG system, but you will then be deploying it and scaling it on AWS cloud, right? So we use AWS cloud here because this is the most popular cloud framework in the market right now. So you will learn how to build the front end on Streamlit. There's also Flask that we have covered in the program, and then you will building an RAG application using LangChain or Llama Index and deploying that and on AWS cloud, right? So these are the modules that we have in the program, and there's also two live session driven projects. So the first is Pixelcraft AI. So here you would be understanding the fundamentals of stable diffusion models, which is an image based model. So given a text prompt, you would then be using those models text basically to generate images, right? So you would be, looking at a case study from, from a marketing perspective. So you will then be using stable diffusion models to give you or generate images, given certain prompts, right? And then you have Shrewdnews AI. So here you would be learning how to use Code Interpreter and how to use ChatGPT or any of the other large language model APIs to sort of build an end-to-end machine learning pipeline. So you in this particular project, you would be sort of building an end-to-end ML pipeline for recommending news articles. So in essence, these are most of the projects that you will be working on during the generative AI program. Moving on, uh, Siddhant, next line, please. Yeah. So you have certain, recorded content, and you also have, certain live sessions at the end of each week. This is usually held during weekends. And I've already mentioned, you have recorded projects as well as live projects, right? And you also have master classes that are, designed for, completing these projects as well. And coming to the OpenAI APIs and, the tools that we have used in this program. So yeah, so like I mentioned, we use primarily OpenAI APIs. So we will teach you how to, create an account and, add credits to your OpenAI account and so on, so that you can use those, for completing the modules and, completing the projects and so on. So this is like a rough estimate of, the approximate cost that will be incurred in each of these projects. But this is the maximum amount because we have accounted for certain trial and experimentation that learners usually do. But the final tally is going to be significantly less than what we have shown here. Uh, so each of these products, projects contain different types of tools and different types of models and so on. So the cost may vary depending on how exactly or extensively you're using all of these APIs. Right? So I believe that completes the curriculum portion of generative AI program. So yeah, if you have any questions regarding the curriculum, do post that in the Q&A section. Uh, yeah, Kiran, so we will be covering GPT-4 as well. So in certain places, for example, Shrewdnews AI project, we have covered GPT-4. But when it comes to APIs, we have primarily used GPT 3.5 because it's cheaper and it gives you very good responses as well. So yeah, folks, if there are any other questions regarding the curriculum portion, do post that in the Q&A section. Over to you, Siddha. So Kiran, no. So I think I believe that maybe the counselor would have mentioned this to you. So these are required to be input or the credits have to be loaded from your end. So we have certain modules or certain platform documentation that will guide you on how to create an account and add credits. But the final cost would be sort of be uh, done by you. So Janardhan, like I mentioned, so we have covered AWS Cloud in the last project, which is scaling and deploying HelpMate AI. So in the last project here, you see Scale AI with AWS Cloud. So we have used AWS Cloud, and we are actually utilizing free tier of AWS, which means you have certain free services, and you can use certain instances of services for free during the trial period, right? Apart from other tools, I believe that I've mentioned most of the tools that we'll be using in the projects. So we'll be using Stable Diffusion, and at places we have demonstrated Midjourney as well. OpenAI is going to be the primary language model that you'll be using, but we have covered open source models also. So in certain projects like fine tuning, we have covered Llama models as well, which you will be using for fine tuning on certain data. And apart from these, I believe there are a lot of other tools, like I mentioned a few, Llama Index, LangChain, and so on. So Mohit, of course, the projects can be completed, but we do recommend sort of using OpenAI because that is the model that you've used in most of the videos, as well as the demonstrations. So we do recommend using OpenAI for maybe getting a really good understanding of how exactly language models do work without maybe deploying it on your own system and so on. Because open source models typically what happens is you need to sort of download the model weights, and there is a significant cost involved in using it for inference, like and there is a lot of computational restraints as well. So that is why we usually recommend any LLM API, so primarily OpenAPI. So Madhava, yes. So we have covered Flask in the Shop Assist project. Apart from that, we also covered the Streamlit frontend in the last project, which is scaling AI with AWS Cloud. Yeah, I think Siddhant, over to you. If there are
Yeah,
any questions, do post that in the Q&A section. I will be.
yeah. And the last one is there, I guess.
Yeah. So the last project, which is scaling AI on AWS Cloud. So what we've done is we have created a Streamlit frontend. It's a very popular tool used for creating, front end for application, particularly generative AI applications. And the other framework that we've used is LangChain. So Janardhan, we don't use AWS Firebase, unfortunately. But you can actually learn how to build applications using frameworks, and then sort of integrate the other services once you get like a really good hang of how to work with basic LM frameworks and so on. So Avinash, so AWS is the primary cloud, provider that we have demonstrated in this particular program. But you will find that, once you have actually understood how to deploy it on AWS, the instructions more or less would be similar on how to, use it for other cloud platforms as well, be it Azure or GCP and so on. So hope that answers your question. Yeah, over to you, Sudhan.
All right. Thanks, Anjali. That was quite insightful. So, hello, learners. I'm back again. So, we'll peek into the learning experience, program offerings, and the guidelines. So, before that, what I have done is I have shared a couple of important links with you all. So, that is one is your program calendar. Second is the Telegram ID of your upgrad buddy. So your upgrad buddy is Simran Dange. So her Telegram ID I have mentioned over here. Other than that, there's a Telegram channel, right? So there's a link which I have shared with you all over here. So there are steps mentioned. So in case if you're not able to click on it, if you're not able to join it, so I've mentioned the steps over here. Please make sure that you are installing the Telegram application in your phone, right? And post that only you're clicking on this link so that it will redirect you to the app and you'll be able to successfully add yourself in the Telegram channel. Okay. All right. I'll move on to the learning experience part. Just a second. All right. So I'll just quickly give you a brief about the Learn platform. I'm sure like most of you have already have logged into it. But so this is the platform based, that is the browser based learning we have it. That is learn.upgrad.com, right? So you can just simply type this URL and you can start learning from the website. Having to say that, we also have an application on the Android as well as the iOS, right? So I would recommend to download the application in your mobile phone as well, since most of you are working professional, right? So while being in the commute, also you can just go through the lecture notes, right? You can go through the live sessions recordings as well as you can refer to the platform content, right? So since the time management is quite critical, right, and you have submissions which will be coming in, so the ideal thing would be to have an application in your phone, right? Secondly, so of course primary mode of learning is your in-platform content, right? The recorded content of it. However, over the weekend, you will have the live sessions, right? Whenever it is required, you will have the live sessions over the weekend, and the timeline for those live sessions will be communicated to you all at least 7 to 8 working days prior. Apart from that, I'll just give you a brief about the channels through which you can raise your queries, concerns, right? So first is the academic support channel. So the discussion forum is inbuilt in your Learn platform. Now, in this discussion forum, your peers from the same similar programs are part of it, right? Along with the teaching associate. So, in case if you encounter any academic query, I would recommend. So, in case if you encounter any particular academic query, right, I would suggest you all to post them in the Q&A section, right? As soon as you post that, we let your peers answer those questions. Why? Because we really want to encourage peer-to-peer engagement, right? So don't worry about it. Whatever the answers your peers are responding to will be verified by the teaching associate. All right. Along with that, in case if any question is unanswered or unattended, please don't worry, because within 24 hours of time span, teaching associates are going to respond to it. Other than that, we have introduced a report and error button on in every platform. So if you see on the Learn platform, in every segment, you will encounter report and error button, right? If you scroll down on the bottom of the left hand side corner, you'll encounter this button. So with the help of this button, you can directly get in touch with our technical support team, or you can get in touch with our content strategy team, right? So you just have to simply click on that button and you have to raise your query. So if in case if you have any say platform related error, right, any sort of the navigation error or something, you can select tech support team, right, technical error. Or in case if you have any content related query, you can select content and create a ticket around it, and our team will get back to you on the same, right? Apart from that, we have doubt resolution sessions, right? These are non mandatory sessions which are scheduled on every Friday, and the schedule for that will be communicated to you all. So these are the doubt sessions are completely optional, right? On Friday it will be scheduled. In case if you have any doubt, you can join those sessions, you can ask your query, and you can just drop out from the session. You don't really have to stay back in the session for the entire duration, right? Just a second. I think my screen got logged out. uh, is it visible to all of you? Hello. Okay, just give me a second, just give me a minute, please. So, so here is a non-academic support channel. I hope now it's visible to everyone. A quick yes or no, maybe in the chat section. Perfect. All right. So, just to provide the human touch to the program, which is actually the USP as well, that is, we have an upgrade buddy, right? So, for your entire program duration, Simran Dange will be your point of contact, your upgrade buddy, and she will be interacting with you all during this program phase, right? Within the next 45 working days, you can expect a call from her as well. Proactively, she'll be connecting with you all, right? Maybe she'll just get in touch with you over a phone call. Apart from that, you can proactively reach out to her, right, through the various medium. So she'll be available from Monday to Friday 10:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. So you can connect with her on Telegram by writing to Simran_upgrad, right? So that's her Telegram ID. Apart from that, she'll be available on the email as well. So studentsupport@upgrad.com. In case if you want to connect with her, if you want to request for a callback from Simran, right, you can ping her on Telegram, or you can raise the request by writing an email, right? So she'll be available from the on the working days. So she will be a point of contact, will be helping you out with all sort of a non-academic query. So for example, in case if you want any assistance about the time management, in case if you're missing out on any kind of a submission which is due, right, so she'll guide you how you can do it. She'll help you out with the extensions, how to apply for it, etc., right? Apart from that, uh, you have certain submissions coming in, right? So you'll have modules to complete, you'll have assignment, sorry, you'll have projects to be delivered, right? As mentioned by Henry, there will be total number of 6 projects will be there, right? And those are the mandatory projects. So considering that, you will have to take out time, right? You'll have to manage your time efficiently in a way that you are able to attend the live sessions, you are able to complete the platform content, you're able to do the submissions along with the self-study. So the time commitment is something which is primarily required, right? Apart from that, this is entire cohort, right? So the timelines are set for your program, right? That timelines cannot vary, the timelines cannot be changed, right? So you are supposed to progress with the pace of the entire cohort. Nobody can be left behind, right? So if any particular set timelines are there for your modules or maybe for your projects, ensure that you are doing all the required submission at that point of time itself. In case if you're struggling, if you're not able to do it, don't worry. On the platform itself, we have made it very simple. By raising the button on the platform, you can just extend the timeline by 2 weeks, right? And once you do that, you won't have any penalties, you won't have any deductions in your marks. Okay, but don't forget to raise the extension from the platform in case if you're not able to do it. And for more information, you can always get in touch with your upgrad buddy and she'll help you out with that. Now, for the submissions, right? So whatever submission you're doing on the platform, or we have the expert pool in the backend, right? Through the robust process, we ensure that the quality of the graders, right, is well maintained. So whatever the submission you are doing will be graded, will be given the adequate amount of feedback for it, right? So whenever there's a scope of improvement, you'll be given a feedback that how you can do it better, right? If something goes wrong, also will be given an explanation for it. Now, here there are a couple of things which you have to make a note of it, that the primary thing is a passing criteria, right? So you need to score minimum of 20 marks in the 4 submissions of yours, that is 4 projects of yours. As mentioned by Henry, there are 6 projects, right? So out of which so for 4 main projects, you have to ensure that you're scoring 20%, right, in each of the projects to meet the passing criteria. And as soon as you meet that, right, once your grading is everything is done, you'll be rewarded with a certificate of it. Now, in case if any learner is not able to deliver within the timelines, right, and if they decide to defer, then there's a 10% of the program fees applicable for the deferral, right, which is mentioned in your student manual as well, right? So, but then I'm pretty much sure that with the right amount of efforts, right, with the correct amount of time management, you will be able to deliver the best, right? You all will be, I mean, that's what you're enrolled for. So give your best during this program and make sure that you're progressing with the entire pace of the cohort, right? And no one is left behind and submissions are done on time. Now, coming to the plagiarism, right? We have certain tools in the back end, right, through which we do check for the plagiarism, and there are certain guidelines for it, right? So we understand since it's a technical program, you might take the references from the internet, maybe from your friend's submission or etc., right? But there is always a threshold for it. So here we are following 50% of threshold. So make sure that that threshold is not breached, right? Nothing is being copy pasted, because we all have enrolled here to learn, right, and grow. So copying something might not help, right? So take this plagiarism policies quite seriously. And that's it from my end, from the learning experience point of view. uh, yeah, so one thing that is mentioned by the Akashdeep Makkar as well, mentorship call is provided, right, where you get an opportunity to interact with the industry mentor one-on-one. But those calls starts after the midway of the program, so that like you will get enough knowledge from the program, right? You'll be in a position to discuss a couple of pointers with the industry mentor, right? And then you'll be able to take the informed decision about the career. So that call will start towards the midway of your program, and you'll be notified whenever the mentorship calls are starting, right? And that time you'll be given the details which platform to register for and how to check for the slots available for the industry mentor, right? Nothing for right now. This is midway to the program, and proactive communication will be shared for that, right? So in case if there are any questions, do post them. I'm here for next 2 minutes. I will try and answer most of it. That's it from my end. Thank you so much for joining, and wishing you all the very best with your learning journey. Most welcome. Shortly, the recording of this session will be shared in the group. Yeah, it will be shared along with the PPT. It will be shared in the group. Don't worry. I think you can make a note of the link from here as well. I'm just sharing it here, Abhishek. Yeah, it will be shared on Telegram, but I just sent it here also, Abhishek. You can just make a note of it. Praveen, regarding your invoice, you must have received it over an email. In case if not, you can connect with your admission counselor, or maybe you can get in touch with Simran also. Henry, would you like to take up this question if you're there?
Yes, just a minute. Uh, yeah, so
I'll
Arihant, yeah,
Arihan's question.
yeah. Yes, so we have like a small system in place. So as and when the content is getting updated, we will be launching a newsletter once you have completed the program first, which will contain some of the changes that you have done in future versions of the program. But just so that I know, most of the content that you'll be going to does contain the updated content. And yes, if there are any iterations or updates to the content, those will be shared with you.
Thanks, Henry. Pradeep, there are no mock interviews. I said mentorship call. So we have industry mentors onboarded, right? So you will be given an opportunity to interact with the industry mentor. Those are actually deployed in the similar domain, similar function, and the similar kind of projects in the industry. So you will be given an opportunity. One mentorship call will be given, right, on which you can discuss one-on-one with those industry mentor. That will take place midway through your program. So once you complete 50% of it, tentatively, you'll be notified about it. For how many days does the content is accessible? So Avinash, the content is accessible for total of 3 years. That is 1 plus 2. So this 1 year ongoing plus 2 more years will be there for you. So total basically you can consider 3 years from the date of enrollment. So starting 1st of August, you can calculate 3 years. All right, I think that's it from our end. All right, thank you so much, everyone. We'll be ending this session now.
Thank you, everyone.